Hi, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Comparison Shopping Boost, Expand Your Search Engine Shopping Strategy. We are going to kick off with some housekeeping for those that have not attended our webinars before. Today, we will be aiming for 30 minutes of content and then 10 minutes of questions at the end. Today, we are joined by Jose Lorenzo, Head of Business Development at Twenga for the last 2 years, and by Nitin Hedge, Product Management and Product Marketing Director at Microsoft, currently leading the Bing Ads product strategy. And for those that don't know me, my name is Alberto, and I work as Publisher Partnerships Manager at Commission Factory and Awin. And with no further delay, I will hand over to Jose.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. Yes, I'm going to walk you through the agenda that we will talk about today. The first thing is to give you a little bit of context about what Microsoft advertising and Bing ads are. And then just to give you a little overview of how aggregators are and how does it work. Then we'll give you some context and to give you a little bit of background where everything is coming from. We're going to give you then some arguments or some reasons why you should diversify your strategy through aggregators in case that you are or you are not participating on Bing ads with your own campaign. Throughout all this period, we've been collecting multiple concerns from other of our clients, why don't diversify through aggregators, and we will try to give some answers. And finally, we will explain our model in a little bit more in detail, leaving 10 minutes at the end for a Q&A session, and we'll be glad to respond.
Thanks, Jose. Before we kick off, we would like to start with a quick poll to know how many of you are already using Bing Ads, also product aggregator partners like Twenga, in your acquisition strategy. So you should be able to see the poll now on your screen with a couple of questions. The first question is, are you currently using Bing as your acquisition channel? And the second question is, do you know what a shopping aggregator is? If you could please click yes or no, that would be awesome. We have the results here. Thank you so much. It seems that there are some mixed results here. Most people are not using Bing right now as part of their acquisition channel. And on the other hand, it seems that many people are aware of what a shopping aggregator is and how they can use a shopping aggregator in their acquisition strategy, which is great. Just remember what you have answered, and we hope that this webinar can provide useful information for you to solve some of the questions you may have around how to use Bing in your acquisition strategy, or how to start using product aggregators if you are not working with any of them. So now we're going to kick off with the webinar, and I'm handing over to Nitin, who is going to talk about Microsoft and Bing Ads.
Thank you. I thought I'd first start off with giving you guys, an overview of our reach as Microsoft Advertising, because I know it looks like nearly half of you are not advertising with us, so you may not be aware of our reach globally across our various assets. This slide shows you the number of users or unique users we have across the different Microsoft properties where we show advertising today. So you can see the bulk of the users are coming from our browser, from Edge, and from people who go to Bing. So we see there's a good correlation between the two. We see the vast majority of people who they retain their default search engine to be Bing. That helps drive a lot of volume to our search engine. More recently, we've started showing native ads on MSN and on Outlook. So you can see the collective reach across our different assets is over 1 billion people when you dedupe all the numbers. If you move ahead and more specifically for the Australian market, this is the data specifically for the Australian market. You can see that we reach around 9 million unique monthly consumers, and this translates to around 20% of PC desktop market share in the Australian market. We do tend to be a bit more stronger on the desktop side, but we are looking at growing our mobile share through partnerships with other companies as well, and I'll talk to that in a bit. When you start looking at the demographic of the audience, especially in the Australian market, you can see that it's pretty evenly split between genders, with slightly more skewed to men, and a good majority of our users are between the 25 and 54 age bracket. We also find that our audience tends to be slightly better educated. So, they 70% have it. And because of that, we find that a good portion of that, they have an annual income of more than $100,000. So what we find from that is, the average basket value on Microsoft tends to be higher. So the return ad spend tends to be higher than other channels. So, I spoke about how, the reach on Bing. So, Bing is our biggest channel from a search perspective. But like I mentioned, we are utilizing the different surface areas across Microsoft to increase that reach and show ads in different format. So we're going to be using, the install base of Windows, of Edge, MSN, and Outlook to start showing more native place. But more recently, we've been working with quite a few large search providers. We've had a long-standing partnership with Yahoo and AOL, and more recently, in the last few years, we've been partnering with companies like Ecosia and DuckDuckGo. So Ecosia, they're very focused on sustainability. So with all the profits they make on search, they plant trees to make the world a better place. And DuckDuckGo, everyone's aware, it's a very privacy-focused search engine. So today, we're powering the search and the ad results across all of those different search properties. There are many which we also power, which you can see, if you're actually running reports on our user interface, you'll see the long list of other partners which we also power as well. So talking specifically around Ecosia and DuckDuckGo and how you should expect your product ads or shopping ads to actually show up. In both cases, they've put a lot of prominence on the product ad placement. So you can see here examples of how they're showing the product ads on the main line. And with the case of DuckDuckGo, they've actually gone one step further. So you can see there's an actual shopping button on there, the shopping tab. When you click on the shopping tab, you see a full page of results there with filters, which will help you, narrow down to a particular item. So this is the result of when you actually go to the shopping tab. It basically mimics of what you will see on the Bing shopping tab, but it's just a slightly different UX which DuckDuckGo have implemented. And we're working with them to do this across the board, across multiple markets. So they're in the process of expanding that into all the markets they operate. So I spoke about how we are extending our advertising surfaces onto other surface areas. So this is a good example of how your shopping ad feed can show up on native surfaces. So this is an example of how it can show up on MSN. Now, there's no extra setup required for this. By default, we show it on here. In this case, we use search intent signals. So you may have been looking for a handbag. You may have been searching for it on Bing. In that case, if you do then go to a native property like MSN, we will look at that search intent and provide a suitable ad which relates to your previous search history. So this really helps you extend your reach, not only from search, but also onto other native surfaces as well. We're also looking at innovating in different ways. So, we've been playing around with visual search for quite a few years now. So in this example, you search for a particular item. In this case, you're searching for a yellow puffer jacket. You click on the images tab. And when you actually click on a particular image, what you see is what's on the left-hand side, where we auto detect items on that image. You can also use the free text box to select a particular item on that page. In this case, what we do is once you actually select a particular area, we show you two sets of results on the right-hand side. The items on the bottom is organic listings. So this is what we've been able to collect from the web, and we look at visually similar products and we display those and where you can buy those particular products. What you see on the top is something where we are doing the same logic on matching against the ad inventory as well. So any promotional ad activity, this will match against that as well. And this was working really well today for fashion and for home and garden. So we're going to extend the different categories. So it is available for all of them, but we just find it works much better in fashion and home and garden. So for those of you who advertise, in US, UK, France, and Germany, this is available right now. We are looking to market expansion, especially into the Australian market, but I don't have a specific timeline yet to share. Looking at some other experiences, which we've just got live in US, UK, France, and Germany, and we will extend this to the Australian market soon, is when people are on our shopping tab, certain categories, we're showing much more richer information. So when people are at that buying stage, they can make a much more informed decision. And we're seeing that is resulting in higher conversion rates. So for example, here, for someone searching to buy a laptop, we show information like, the camera ratings or sound ratings, and we're also getting reviews from some trusted sources, which we've licensed, like from CNET and Trusted Reviews, which we're putting right to the forefront. And then, if someone actually clicks into the particular product, we find is, we are showing the price by the different retailers for the particular product. But we also show a price history graph as well. So when people are at that particular point and to make that decision, they know exactly when it's the right time to buy. Again, this is something, which we're going to plan to bring to the Australian market as well, and it should land there. Some new experiences we're trying out because we do see consumers, these days where they're looking to save money. And in some cases, they're not starting with a particular search intent, they're just browsing. So with that in mind, we created something called the Deals Hub, which is currently live just in the US and UK. We will be bringing it to the French and German markets next, and then we'll extend that to other markets. But the premise here really, you're just looking to find a deal online, and there are different ways you may be doing that. So you can't see later down on this page where we also show you coupons for different retailers as well. But the premise here is on the top you see a different retailers. If you click on that particular retailer, you'll see the different offers by category broken down where they've had where they have some promotions or prices have changed, or prices have dropped quite a bit over time. Similarly, you can actually go and search by a particular product category, so major appliances, for example, and then you can see all the products which have had a drop in price across multiple retailers. So we're still iterating on this, but initial feedback has been good. We're seeing a lot of engagement, and it's really allowing consumers to discover great deals which they may not have been able to find in easy fashion before. The last thing I want to touch on is how we're leveraging Edge to help consumers save money when they're shopping online. So today, we have this live in the US and UK, but this is coming very soon to Australia, Canada, and India. And the way this works is, as a consumer, you may be on a particular retailer site. We've signed a bunch of deals to get live coupon information from multiple sources. We will surface that information when someone's on a particular retailer's web. So you can see here on the top right, there's a notification saying the site has coupons. And you click on that, and then the consumer, will see the different coupons available. We will also have an auto apply coming pretty soon as well, so you don't have to take any other action there. So we're looking at using Edge as a surface area to highlight different aspects as a consumer goes through the retail journey, and that will help consumers use Edge more, and hence that will result in consumers using Bing more.
Awesome. Thank you, Nitin. Super interesting to know what the different products that Microsoft is developing and launching in different markets that hopefully we can see many of them in Australia pretty soon. I just wanted to jump in here to add that we are already working with Microsoft to roll out some of these opportunities for Commission Factory for AWIN advertisers across several markets, of course, including Australia. We'll be sharing some updates pretty soon, and merchants will be invited to work with Microsoft through the Commission Factory and through the AWIN platforms. So you will be able to see your brand, your products, your coupon codes promoted across different Microsoft products. Some of them have been mentioned by Nitin already today. And also a quick reminder that on the Commission Factory platform, there is a dedicated section where you can upload your coupon codes, where you can upload your promotions with a start and an end date, and you can also assign them to a specific publisher if you want. And there is also a section where you can upload your data feeds, which are also a key factor and a key element of the Microsoft being also the aggregators strategies. Later, Jose will talk about data feeds and why having a good quality data feed is key, is super important for an acquisition strategy with aggregators and with Twenga. And just a reminder that you can continue sending your questions using the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. So we can go through your questions at the end of the webinar. And now I'm handing over to Jose, who will talk about Twenga, who will talk about working with product aggregators and how we can work with them as advertisers. So, Jose.
Thank you so much, Alberto. And thank you. He's been explaining a bunch of great reach options that any merchant is able to tap into, either if they are working with their own in-house campaign or either if they want to diversify through aggregators like Twenga. And we wanted to explain a little bit more from a publisher perspective, how can the merchant take advantage of all these options? And to do that, we would like to give you a little bit of context first and to talk to you about where everything is coming from. So we need to go back to Europe in 2017. when Google was fined by the European Commission due to antitrust and unfair practices and dominant practices on the Google shopping space. The resolution was in a few months later that the Google shopping market became liberalized, and now comparison shopping services like Twenga was allowed to participate in exactly equals conditions to Google Shopping CSS, or comparison shopping services, representing any merchant. Then we've been developing our product and expanded to Microsoft advertising a couple of years later. And earlier this year, we expanded to Canada and the United States with Bing, where Google is not active just yet. We are just applying the same the learnings and the know-how that we got in Europe just to be applied overseas. And we want to give you like an overview about what's an aggregator. So in a sense, as I mentioned before, we are participating, representing your product feed on the Microsoft Bing Shopping in equals conditions. We are in an auction model. We are not necessarily an agency, but we are self-managed operator. In our case, we are a tech provider. We are supplying with additional technology to your campaign that complements your in-house campaign in case that exists. In terms of the customer journey, it's important to mention that there is no real differences in between how run by Twenga and your own ads looks like. They look exactly the same. And there is no stopover in our properties before the user is being led directly to your e-commerce. So the user clicks and goes straight to your page. It's the way that we complement is that because we are extensive in data, and we leverage technology that allows us to complement your bidding strategy in case you are using your own bidding strategy or you are relying on Microsoft Smart Bidding. And in a sense, aggregators come into agreements with the merchants at different levels when it comes down to business model. In our case, if we are everybody sitting here, is because merchants are monetizing their Bing Shopping ads through affiliate platforms. The way that we make money is on a CPA basis. So this is what an aggregator, and now we're going to explain how does it work in the next slide. So you representing as a merchant, you can either run your own Bing in-house campaign, and you are singled out when representing to your feed in the Bing shopping space, or you can rely on multiple aggregators, not only one. Each of those will have linked a product feed to a merchant, a Bing merchant center. And in our case, we as a self-managed operator, we will create a campaign in our Bing's ads account and link this product feed into our own Bing merchant center. And each aggregator will offer different ad value, either in terms of economics, in terms of the way that we use technology, or any other ad value that you can take advantage. And as a visual example, this is how the opportunity looks like. Again, we will expand your strategy in case that you already participate with your in-house campaign or not. Let's make the example in the left-hand side that if you are running your campaign by your own, you in an auction model, it's likely that you will appear and you will cover only one shopping ads. Whereas if you decide to diversify through aggregators like Twenga, the numbers of shopping units that you will tap into will likely increase. So you have another operator bidding in the same product feed as yours with a different logic, which means that it's more likely that an auction with your product will win and will be displayed. In other words, your CTR will increase because you're covering a higher number of spaces in this channel, and by consequence, your sales will increase in a number of incremental sales that you were not generating with your previous. So we wanted to highlight in here 3 different reasons why you should run in parallel an aggregator campaign. The first one that we would like to touch on is diversification. Essentially, you will take advantage of another areas of expertise. In our case, we will explain our model a little bit later on. You will increase your reach and will participate in more auctions, just like the way that I explained in the previous slide. And having another self-managed operator, you will have a better understanding of your CPCs and your traffic cost. We will be able, in our case, to audit your campaign and let you know where can it be improved, because we're doing it differently. From the commercial side, this is a really common question. It won't be any sort of conflict with your ongoing campaign. Essentially, because aggregator doesn't seek to compete against your in-house campaign. We try to explore other untapped opportunities, and this is the way that we add value to our clients, just driving incremental sales, doing things differently. And last but not least, in terms of mitigating any potential risk. It can happen that in sort of contingencies, you have to deal with Microsoft until the issue is sorted, and you will have Twenga or any other aggregator as a repository that will keep running your campaign while you deal any issues with Microsoft.
To be honest, from experience working with Twenga and working with some of our advertisers that are partnering with Twenga, we normally see the same type of questions being asked quite frequently. We see advertisers worried about how launching a campaign with Twenga or with a product aggregator may create a conflict with their own in-house campaign or with their campaign that is managed by their advertising agency. Also questions about CPC costs, if launching or partnering with an aggregator will increase their CPC costs, or if there will be any potential sales cannibalized if they decide to launch a campaign with Twenga. So as you can see, there are some potential questions there and potential conflicts and limitations, and you might be wondering how to basically solve these conflicts. Jose is going to talk about these potential conflicts and we'll explain a bit more how they work in this space. So Jose.
That's right. We've been in this business from 2017. So we've been collecting the most common concerns from merchants when they decide whether to diversify or not through aggregators. And we will try to be ahead and try to respond a few questions. The first one, and the most common, is that if there will be any sort of sales cannibalization if I'm running my own campaign. The short answer is it will exist, but it will be on an unpredictable scale. We will explain why. The first one is because Twenga has a conservative bidding model, and this is directly related to our strategy. So if you as a merchant monetizing your traffic through affiliate platform, you are paying Twenga in a CPA basis, and we need to keep in mind that we are paying Microsoft in a CPC basis. So we are taking all the risk that leads us to underbid your own campaign potentially. The second reason is because we need to make our own margin. So we always need to take our take rate, which is something that we subtract from the bid value that we apply to your product. And we compensate that with technology to make sure that we are bidding on products that were not bid before. And the third one, it's directly related with the business intelligence. We only have visibility on our campaign. We lack this business intelligence information that you as a merchant running your own campaign can use to optimize your in-house campaign. It's really likely that you will use signals from other acquisition channels of yours to tune up your own in-house campaign. This is something that we lack. That's made us to create our own solution to try to drive sales from somewhere else. And secondly, we are just tapping into opportunities that you are not participating at the minute, right? In our case, we focus on the long tail and the long tail catalog. So normally these are not really completed product that you as a merchant, you are not bidding extensively, but we found the way to surface this opportunity because of our technology. So you can focus on upper part of your catalog where the products are completed the most, while we can back you up and bidding on long tail catalog. It's a bucket of product that receive a fewer number of clicks, but the conversion is high. The second concern is that normally the Clients tend to tell us that they are running their campaign through an agency, or they have one dedicated team at the company which is looking after this channel, and they don't want to divide their budget. To be fully honest with you, it's true that adding new aggregators increases the complexity of the management. But it's also true that if you want to remain competitive, you need to diversify your strategy, because your competitors will do sooner rather than later. And I explained before, there's no potential conflict within your internal campaign. We are ourselves to manage the campaign. We don't require any sort of maintenance. And from the financial standpoint, we are being paid in a performance based. We are paid every time that we drive a sale, not in any other circumstances. So to sum up this point, in case that you decide to diversify through aggregators, you need to consider either your internal paid search team strategy plus monetizing through affiliate with aggregators as an only performance unit, and consider the metrics as a whole. You will see by our potential set that your overall ROI will be decreased, mostly because you are monetizing through a performance-based model with affiliates. So we touch on potential conflicts in case that you are running your own campaign. Now we want to talk about limitations, something that we receive really commonly from all sides of merchants, that I believe that for such a massive channel as Bing Shopping is, I cannot participate face-to-face to large aggregators. The short answer is that there is absolutely opportunity for all sizes of merchants to participate in this channel. It's just a matter of how the merchants differentiate their strategy and the approach to use this channel. So you are using aggregator that it's a mid-funnel acquisition channel, which is great, as long as you have a set of products that it's interesting for your user when they're seeking for products. As long as you have a product feed that it has a price that are competitive, that your brand is recognized, that you are including in your catalog of products that the user normally tends to search, and you have a really well-structured product feed, Bing participating on Bing Shopping is the perfect traffic acquisition channel for your mid-funnel strategy, because you will be displayed alongside other larger merchants in equal conditions. If you are concerned about the way that your trademark, we can exclude any sort of terms, either your trademark or any product that you would like to run solo. And there is a full flexibility on that. And last but not least, we would like to talk about Twenga's value proposition, what makes us different from other aggregators. There's a bunch of really smart guys out there who can run aggregators just like we do. So we want to highlight and to stress out a lot that we are a self-managed operator. So we don't require to get access to your Bing ads account at all. We don't require to have access to your Bing merchants at all. We will do everything in-house. So we will create a campaign in our own ads account, and we will link that into our Bing Merchant Center. Then we will retrieve your product feed already well formatted, Commission Factory or AWIN, depending on the case. And then we will make our algorithm to work in order to find the optimal bid value. In our case, what we do is to predict conversion rate and basket value at an item level, so that we can set the perfect bid value per each of the items in your catalog, and this way be able to drive incremental sales from products that you are not surfacing at the moment. And how to get started from a technical standpoint. Super simple steps. One is obviously to be accepted on AWIN's network. We have full integration with the network, so it's something that the account management team is fully familiar with. The second one, and it's something really important, it's to have a well-formatted product feed. We will repeat this as many times as possible. It's not only for aggregators, but for any other of your strategies that uses a product feed. Having a well-formatted product feed, it's key. And by well-formatted, we mean having your feed meeting the Microsoft requirements that we will share later on. And as a second step, once we are running a business for you for a little while, we can go a step further and implement our pixel in order to get a higher number of signals that will help us to optimize your campaign. For the internal standpoint, it's really important that your paid search team is aware that there will be a third-party operator running your campaign, and your paid search need to opt in for our campaign, allowing aggregators to run a campaign with the same feed as yours. The last point that we like to talk to you about is business case. This is a European business case, so we just expanded to Australia. We don't have representative data enough from any merchant currently, but this is what we're aiming. Essentially, this is a sneaker brand that we've been working with us for a number of years already that decided to implement our pixel, if you remember from our previous technical slide. And the main goal was to improve the quality of our traffic. So what Twenga did is we managed to increase the traffic while we were improving the quality of it. The conversion rate in the blue line that you can see here was growing alongside the traffic one. And as we've been paid on a CPA, we also managed to increase the basket value of the sales that we were driving. We were getting higher return so that we were able to reinvest this into their own campaign in a continuous process.
Thank you, Jose. That was super interesting. Hopefully that helped to solve some of the questions that our attendees and our merchants had. We're going to jump now into questions time. So thank you so much to everyone that sent the questions ahead of time or now during the webinar. Let me see. The first question is, so I am interested to know how I can optimize our product feed for better performance on Bing. Are there some easy wins or some common mistakes that we can be aware of? So I guess this question is for both of you, maybe more relevant for Jose.
That's a really pertinent question. Normally, the issues that we used to find, it's attributes that are missing in the product feed. And the most common one are shipping cost and identifiers. So SKU or any other number that identifies the product and allows us to perfectly differentiate one product to another one. And in terms of best practices, if you're running your own in-house campaign, it means that you submit it to Microsoft a product feed that meets their requirements. You just simply have to migrate this product feed into Commission Factory or AWIN or Share a Sale, depending on the case, and we will take it from there. There is also numbers of feed management tools that are working perfectly well that already know how to map these attributes, that you can put them in contact with Twenga.
Awesome, thank you. We have another question. Do we need to have our own Bing account or can everything be managed via?
It's great that we run the poll at first because we've seen that more than 50% of this forum is not participating on Bing today. We hope it changes today. It is not mandatory for the merchant to have a Bing account created for Twenga to run their own campaign, but the most recommendable practice is the merchant to have their own in-house campaign and then having an aggregator supplementing it.
Another question here, this one is for Nitin. What has been the growth in Microsoft Shopping? Is it possible to share some additional demographics that are buying through Microsoft Shopping?
Yeah, so if we go through the last, say 12 to 18 months, like other publishers, we saw a lot of growth in online retail shopping. So on average, if you look at it outside the US market, on average, if you take across all the other international markets, we saw in excess of 100% increase year on year. So, very rapid increase across the board. And that's pretty consistent if you actually break it down by market. Some of that growth has come from very specific categories as you went through the pandemic. So initially, a lot of it was in technology, and then we started moving to more home and garden as people were trying to improve their living conditions. Yeah, so overall, it's increased around 100%. In terms of demographics as well, it's pretty evenly split in some markets. We do find slightly more dominant female audience in some markets, but otherwise, it's like what I shared earlier. The demographic for Australia, it's pretty much similar across most of our markets as well.
Another question, they would like to know some examples or results on home or kitchen appliances performance. According to this attendee, appliance products work or perform better on Google rather than in Bing, and they would like to know some examples of home and kitchen appliances performance on Bing.
Yeah, I think in terms of the performance difference, it's very difficult without actually seeing the specifics. So if you're already advertising with us, please reach out to your account team or support team, and they can look into a bit more to understand why things are not performing. It could be to do with feed quality, it could be to do with campaign setup. In terms of specific examples for home and kitchen, what I can do is let me share a few links which takes you through some data and insights which we have shared, and this will cover the Australian market, UK, and the US market. So I'll just find those and I'll just post those on the chat in a bit.
Awesome, thank you, Nitin. Yeah, we will definitely include these links on the blog post that we will share with everyone next week. Another question, this one is for Jose. Is there any minimum trial period for Twenga or for Bing?
Yeah, so we are a machine learning platform. So we rely on historical data that we've been collecting for a number of weeks in order to be completely up and running and at full potential. We normally need around 1 month, 1.5 months to be completely up and running. You can test a run with us. Of course, there's no minimum term of any other exclusivity terms that limits you. But yeah, normally it's from 1 to 2 months what we recommend to test us.
I think we have time for one more question before we wrap up. So this question is, I think, is also for Jose. The pixels you add to your website, what information do you get exactly from it?
So it's a really simple pixel integration in 2 different pages. It's really important to mention that due to the privacy policies. I'm not really familiar with the Australian one, but at least in Europe, we are really concerned about those. This pixel is not collecting user level information whatsoever. It's purely item-centric information. What they do is essentially collect a counter of item page views, numbers of product being sold for one specific product, so that we can compute that at scale in order to predict conversion rate and basket.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I think that was the final question. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Nitin, for your time today and for sharing all these insights with everyone who joined. Yeah, as usual, we will follow up next week with a blog post with more information from Microsoft and from Twenga, and with additional links, the links I mentioned just a moment ago. And yeah, if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to myself or to Jose or to Nitin or to your account manager, to Commission Factory or Awin account manager, and they will be happy to help you connect with Twenga and with Microsoft. And again, thanks everyone, and have a great rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.